and welcome to the Psychoanalysis and Politics seminar. And I'm very sorry about the technical mess in the beginning, but hopefully it's sorted now. So we're very pleased to have Jill Gentile, and the title is Hate Speech as the Action of Inequality. And Jill is a faculty member at the NYU postdoctoral program in psychotherapy and psychoanalysis at the Institute for the Psychoanalytic Study of Subjectivity. She's also an associate editor of Psychoanalytic Dialogues and Studies in Gender and Sexuality, and also sits on several other editorial boards. And very recently, which is great news, her work on hate speech was awarded a Maurice Burke Prize by the Chicago Center for Psychoanalysis. And she was also awarded the 2017 Gradiva Award for her essay, What's Special About Speech? And her book, Feminine Law, Freud's Free Speech and the Voice of Desire with Michael McCronen, explores psychoanalysis as a practice of emancipatory democracy through the lenses of freedom of speech and the feminine. And I can also add that when we met in real life, it was in London in 2016, and I remember the Brexit vote had happened recently. And these Americans were making sort of some jokes about Brexit, and I was sort of upset. So how can you joke about this? Because it's so terrible. And then, of course, later we had the Trump election happening. It was shocking to all of us. It sort of links to this topic. So, yes, I'm very pleased to have you and look very much forward to your talk.
Well, thank you, Lenny. Thank you for the introduction. Thank you for that opportunity to meet you in person back in 2016 when the book had first come out and so much was happening politically in Europe and the States. Yeah, what a gift of an opportunity to hear your own thinking. And I think the gift of this group, I mean, I'm very touched. I'm seeing quite a few people I've known and have not seen for a very long time, thinking of how divided how atomized our lives have become in so many ways. And so the opportunity to think across European communities and American communities and at least one South African representative, I think it's a special opportunity, especially as these issues of speech, freedom of speech, hate speech are so rampant in the news today. And so I hope we'll have good time for discussion. We're getting a little bit of a late start, and I was already a little concerned about time. So what I plan to do is speak in two parts, and we'll have a break for discussion after the first section, and then depending on whether the needs of the group, we can either just extend that discussion, or I would launch into the second part of the talk, which is more about themes of breakdown and the maternal. So that you'll see the arc of the talk. I wrote this essay over many, many months, and it kept, every time I would return to it, it became increasingly on one level of analysis, a talk about hate speech, and on another level, an exposure, integration, trying to piece together what I've come to see as Winnicott's implicit political theory. So those levels you'll see in the context of the talk, but just to contextualize, we're meeting today, in the context of some very tormenting times. We've watched as displaced Gazans have walked home with bare possessions on their bare bodies, to bear witness to the demolition of their homes and their homeland, their lives, their communities, their hearts. We've obviously watched some of what Israelis have endured watching the destruction of their democracy. We now are watching as Gazans are being further challenged with the thought that Americans will soon occupy their land. We meet at a time when our current president here in the US, whom we've collectively enabled, whether he received our vote or not, endorses an explicit politics of hate, of loyalty and spite. So hate and retaliation become the currency of political life. We meet at a time when trans people are being legislated out of, not even legislated, written out of existence, as if that were possible. And we meet at a time when our professional listservs are virtually collapsing, either in polarizing, mean-spirited reproductions of political dynamics, or just shut down altogether in silence. I propose we meet at a time when psychoanalysts are being called to meet the call to end patriarchy and its violent inequities and degradations, and to bear witness to the revelations of the hideous truths we've preferred not to see, to acknowledge our complicity in the politics of hate, and to sustain our curiosity about how we might open trajectories towards a collective psychoanalytic politics of social renewal, equality, and desire. Nick Gillespie, editor of Reason.com, provocatively likens hate to the planet's greatest renewable energy source. He might go a little bit far, but taking up Gillespie's provocation, what do we psychoanalysts think? Is hate speech inherently destructive, or do we welcome it, censor it, or some combination of both in the clinic? Do we regard it as solely toxic, or do we stay curious about its communication and its transformative potential?